Hi, friends and readers. This is Aaron Johnson, the author of the National Park Mystery Series. And two joys of my life are reading and exploring. And if I can be doing that at the same time, reading outside in a beautiful place, it's the best. But a third joy is being able to share my experiences in the form of stories, whether that's fiction or real. And we're starting a series that we're going to be sharing with you. I'll be sharing with you about some of my experiences in the national parks. And this first one is about how I discovered a place called the Apache Fort while reading an old history book, and then how our family went to find it. I'm going to share with you some maps, stories, and some photos. So let's jump in. All right, this is where it all starts. I was doing research for Mystery in Rocky Mountain National Park, and I stumbled upon this great document historical background data on Rocky Mountain National Park. Most people would find stuff like this boring, but I find it absolutely fascinating. And on page 19, I learned about this place called the Apache Fort, and the story comes from a guy whose last name is or his name is Sherman Sage. He actually fought in the Battle of Little Bighorn. And the story is told in 1914. So this group, this is Sherman Sage right here, Gunn Griswold, Shep Husted. He was a local. These two grew up in the area. I think Tom Crispin did as well before they relocated to the Wind River Reservation up in Wyoming. And then this guy's last name's Toll. He was an ethnographer, and this was a student who was doing a lot of the recording of the information. But their mission in 1914, before it became a park, they took 2 weeks to document and learn some of the Native American names, particularly the Arapaho names for different peaks, bodies of water, and they were also pointing out where there were things like stacked rocks that would commemorate like where the tribes would have stayed when they were in the park, would have camped in the park. So during this time, Sherman Sage told a story about when he was about 4 years old. There were a group of about 50 Apache warriors who attacked his family and his tribe. And these warriors got on top of a kind of like this hill rock outcropping. And they built like a 3-foot high fence by just stacking rocks. So it's not a fort in the sense of like a barricade created with like lodgepole pine or something that were cut down. This was just like a makeshift, very quick way to protect themselves as they were shooting down on the Arapaho who were encamped or either traveling along the old Ute Trail. So I heard about this and I was like, I need to find this place. And as it was described, it was on this old ranch, which is now the Upper Beaver Meadows area of Rocky Mountain National Park. So we went to find it. But first I checked my map. I was like, okay, could it be on the map? So here's Moraine Park. This is kind of a central point in Rocky Mountain National. Moraine Park Campground. You might know that in the story, this is where Jake and his family stay. It's like their base of operations. And this is the Upper Beaver Meadows area right in here. And nothing was on my map. Not even like you might see one of these little stars or a little, that indicates a building, so there's no landmark even noted in this area. So I thought, we should talk to rangers. So we went to Rocky Mountain National Park, went to the Beaver Meadows Visitor Center. So let's go there real quick. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So here's Moraine Park again. And then Beaver Meadows Visitor Center. It's right here. And we're going to zoom in on it. And I'll show you where we were when I had a conversation with 3 rangers. So yeah, this is probably a good viewpoint. So this facility is really cool. It was built actually by one of the apprentices to Frank Lloyd Wright. So you can see the design looks very similar to something that Wright would have made. Here's Long's Peak in the background. And right about where these folks are walking, there were 3 rangers, 2 probably in their late 20s, one who's in his 50s. And I got to talking with them. I brought my map and just asked them, "Hey, have you guys been to the Apache Fort? We're looking for it, and I was wondering if you had any specifics on it." And they all three looked at me with like very wide eyes because they'd never heard of it. And I was like, and they're like, "How did you find out about it?" And I told them the story of reading through the book and reading the story myself, and they were fascinated, and they were then asking me, and I was saying, well, I think it's right here because it's supposed to be just kind of south of the old Ute Trail where it gets its start here in Upper Beaver Meadows. And they were like, well, we're going to try to find it ourselves. I wish they would have come along with us. That would have been really cool, but they had a job to do and they were staying put. So our family left and we started up the road. I'll show you, kind of what the travel looks like. It's not too far away. We went up, and we usually kind of come down here and visit Moraine Park, which is, as you can see, absolutely beautiful. Great place to fish and tons of elk down in here. And great little picnic places along this Fern Lake Road if you ever want to visit. But we headed a little further up and then took this road, I believe, because we wanted to go into the Upper Beaver Meadows area, which is right up in here. I think that is, yeah, it's somewhere up in there. So going back to the photos, because you'll see some of the photos of our trip, we from the trailhead started hiking this area. So there's Long's Peak in the background. And the Apache Fort actually ended up being kind of up in these trees here to my right. There's a little more detail. This might be actually, I think this might be a picture of it, if I'm right, that it's up in the rock formation is up inside of this. So you can't really see it. And then we found very near the base this old spring house. I was like, what is this shed doing preserved out here, kind of hidden in the aspen trees? And then I saw water flowing out from the bottom of it and could hear dripping. And I was like, oh, this must be an old spring house. So I illustrated it and it features in the book. This is a picture on top of the Apache Fort. So probably about, I don't know, 50 feet above the forest floor. The area is pretty wide. Like, it's probably about the size of a football field, maybe a little smaller up on top. And the area, the stacked rocks would have been up in here, probably like along the edge. And Sage Sherman and a rancher who actually had a ranch here a long time ago, they said they took the wall down and they used it for the foundation of something. Maybe that's the foundation of that old spring house that it's used for. And then this gives you an idea of what it would look like to look down on the trail. See the trail down right there? Let's see here. And then I had learned through some other research that the United States Geological Survey had gone here and added this as a landmark. And when they do that, typically they have a circular brass plate about this size. And it gets adhered somehow to the stone. I don't know if they use epoxy now or exactly how it goes on, but this may have been even before that. There weren't brass plates. And I guess in the early days, they would actually paint with white paint on rock, the elevation coordinates, USGS on there. And so I was looking for that because I had read that it may actually still be on the rock. So we started exploring some of the rock outcropping, and I believe it was on the north side. We discovered where it says "See the U.S." here. How cool is that? We discovered some of the white paint that is still there to this day. Here's a zoom in, and this is what gave me the idea of what if there was something kind of cryptic written on here that could be a code that we could use in the book. So that's what got my imagination going. So yeah, that's the story of how we discovered that there even was something called the Apache Fort, how we went and found it, and then how it inspired some things from the story. So we're hoping to do some more of these. The next one is going to be our story of our family, one of our stories from our mini trips into Great Sand Dunes National Park. So be watching your email for that one coming to you in the following weeks.